really take advantage of every single opportunity that comes your way. Say yes. Say yes to those things that are outside of the norm. Say yes to the things that maybe make you feel a little bit uncomfortable and not sure if you can do it because you can. And you never know what saying yes to an opportunity will lead to.
Welcome to Breaking Ground, Women in AEC Leadership podcast. This is the show that lifts the voices, journeys, and insights of women shaping the future of architecture, engineering, and construction, and it's brought to you by Unanet. If you're in the architecture, engineering, or construction space, you know how critical it is to keep your projects on time, your teams aligned, your pipeline growing, and your finances in check. And that's where Unanet comes in with project based ERP solutions, CRM solutions, and an AI growth suite built specifically for AEC firms. I'm today's host, Reanna Dempsey, and with me is my lovely co-host, Sarah Brown. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
Hello, great.
And in this podcast, we connect with professionals across the AEC industry to share real stories and hard-earned wisdom. At our core, we believe that a strong, diverse workforce drives innovation and success, and that women are essential to building the future of AEC. This is more than a conversation. It's a community focused on growth and lasting impact. Let's get started. Okay, so today we are speaking to Katy Klaproth. Hi, Katy. How are you?
Great, great. How are you?
Doing well. And before we jump in, Sarah, why don't you tell us just a little bit about Katy?
Sure. So, Katie is a dynamic communications and marketing executive whose career journey is a powerful example of leadership, consistency, and persistence. As vice president of marketing and communications at Robins Morton, Katie has spent more than 2 decades rising through the organization, helping shape strategy, culture, and innovation within the AEC industry. Welcome, Katie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So excited to be here. We are so excited to have you, and we always kick things off with a little bit of an icebreaker. I really like this one, Reanna. Hopefully, you can answer this one as well. I'm going to think of something, but I feel like it's a good question. If you could instantly become an expert in one subject or skill, what would it be and why? Oh, let's see. For me, it would probably to be like a crime scene analyst. Yeah, I'm just so intrigued by that whole world of crime and mysteries and all of those kinds of things. So I would love to learn more about that and become instantly skilled and be able to be a part of that world.
I love that. I have watched like 7 million Law and Order episodes during
Yeah.
that time, so that very much speaks to me.
Oh, you're qualified already. You're good.
I would, Sarah, I can answer that one. I would say, I mean, right now it would be give me all the AI training in the world because I'm trying to comb through it, but that's kind of boring. I feel like everyone wants that. I want to play guitar, and I actually used Claude to give me a guitar plan so that I can start learning guitar. I wish I play the flute, and it's like not a very divert, like nobody really enjoys listening to the flute. So anyway, that's mine.
So my immediate thought was actually something really left field and just funny, but I would like to learn or be instantly skilled at being an ice carver. Like when I was
Say
in
more,
Cal
please.
school, they how you take all these random courses and flower arranging and like all of this stuff. And I was like, man, you can make a ton of money and it looks fun other than it's cold as an ice sculptor person. But then the real me is like, no, I think if I could instantly be a physician and like be like ready to rock on an airplane when someone's like, is a physician in the house? And I said, like, save the person and then the airplane would clap for me. I think, yeah, that'd probably be more useful than ice sculpting, but
Those are very opposite, and the ice sculpting is hilarious. I did not see that coming, so
there we go. There's a
there we go.
comedy for the show today.
Yeah, so we've got a good variety of skills we'd all like to add to our repertoire here. Well, speaking of skills, Katie, you bring a lot to the table, and Sarah got to give your highlights. But if you could give our listeners just a quick 2-minute overview, and you can include personal and professional stuff, whatever
Yeah.
feels like it might be meaningful, feel free to give us kind of your overview.
Yeah, absolutely. So professionally, I have been with Robins Morton. I just celebrated my 24th anniversary with the company. So I've been here
Gosh.
24 years.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. So it has been a really fun journey. I started many years ago. I don't think I ever even knew that this was a field or something that was a career path. I went to school, I went to the University of Florida and got my bachelor's degree in public relations within their school of journalism. And so I knew that that was a world that I wanted to get into, but I didn't know that the AEC component or the AEC marketing, world even existed. And so I graduated from school and actually had another job, had been hired by Ford Motor Company right out of school. And that's what I thought I was going to be doing was marketing and promoting the dealerships across Florida. And that's where I thought my career path was going to go. And then I had about 6 months or so before I got started and ended up doing temp work, which was really kind of fun. You get to see places you want to work and places you don't want to work. But I got to temp at Robins Morton and really loved the people. I didn't think I needed a job. And then a few weeks later, Ford called me and let me know that they were going to put my start date on hold for another year. So I needed to find something else to do. I ended up through some connections and things that maybe were meant to be, ended up at Robbins and had the chance to start at the company in the Orlando office where I still sit today. And I served in a lot of different roles. I really didn't start out as a marketing team member because it was the newest office. We were still a small company. So I did part-time marketing, part-time administrative assistant in the office and answered the phones and did whatever they needed me to do. And so everything kind of changed from there. And then while I was at Robbins, they supported me getting my master's degree. So I got my master's in corporate communications from Rollins College here in town. So I did that while I was working and then got married and have two great kiddos. So got married to my husband. We met when we were getting our master's degrees at Rollins. And we've got two kiddos. I have a son who is 14 and I have a daughter who is 17. So next year I will have a freshman and a senior in high school. So
Wow.
yeah, don't know how we got here, but that's where we are. And it's just been a really fun journey along the way at Rocks, since I started.
Is awesome. Yeah, and the time Sarah and I both have kids ourselves, and it is wild how fast. My oldest is 11, and I feel like she was, born last month, and it's crazy. So, and it's also the navigating the parenthood and having the career. I feel like is it's probably another podcast that there's that we could have a spinoff on because so many challenges there. But I want to tap into and it's so funny. I feel like I keep saying this, Sarah, when we talk to all the amazing women we get to meet, and the tenure at these companies is just you don't see it. You don't see people that are like, I've been at the same. I mean, you've been sitting in the same office for 24 years, and I think that is so incredible. And I'm sure that it has shaped, your growth. And so maybe talk a little bit about and you mentioned it already, like you started just doing whatever people needed you to do, and then you've been able to continue to grow there. So talk a little bit about that growth journey and just what that tenure has meant.
Oh, yeah. So, like you mentioned, I started at the very beginning and was doing a little bit of marketing and a little bit of office admin work. Because I wanted to do whatever it took. And we were such a small office here in Orlando when I first started. I think there were three or four of us in the office when we first started. So it just gave me the opportunity to wear a lot of hats, to sit in, listen to a lot of conversations, attend a lot of meetings. And I had a really great mentor when I started here for the first 15 years that I was with the company. The gentleman who ran our Orlando office, Rocky Maymakin, was my boss and my mentor. And I know he definitely, took me to some meetings that I probably had no business attending, but I think he recognized that I wanted to learn. And so he wanted to give me that exposure, I think, to as many aspects of the business as he possibly could. So whether I was going to a pre-construction meeting after we were awarded a job and I could just kind of listen in to how that process worked, or whether I went to visit a job site with him and walked and talked to the team on site to kind of learn, what they were doing on site, teaching me about the business aspect of, how do we run as a business? How do we make money on our projects? How do we function? He just recognized that I was interested in trying to learn as much as I could. And so he really was such a great mentor in feeding that opportunity. So anytime he asked me to do probably just about anything, I would say, sure. Whether I knew how to do it or not, I was going to give it my best shot. I knew I could ask him questions, but I think that willingness or my willingness to kind of learn and do whatever was asked, and then paired with having him as such a great mentor, gave me exposure. So then that way, as I continued to grow and get more involved in the marketing and sales aspect of what we do, then I could speak to the project delivery process better. I understood it better. It allowed me to talk to our team members about it better. And then eventually, he told me if you really want to keep advancing in the company, you're going to have to sell some work. And so that to me was a very foreign concept because, we have a seller doer model here at Robins Morton. And so most of our sellers are operational leads. And so to have somebody, who really doesn't have an operational or construction background. We don't have many folks like that are going out selling work, but he again really encouraged me and pushed me out of my comfort zone to do that and establish some relationships with some clients. And eventually I was able to do that. I was able to sell work for the company, establish new clients that we still have today. And that's something that I'm really proud of. And so I think again, just wearing different hats, getting exposed to things, kind of taking risks and maybe doing things that felt a little bit uncomfortable and outside of, what my typical role would have been here gave me the opportunity to grow within the company, grow as a person, and then become somebody that I think others then felt comfortable working with, confident in working with, and gave me a good opportunity to see things in a different way as my role changed here at the company. So
I I love that story is amazing, and another key component, I think, the mentorship piece. We've heard that from a lot of women that we speak to is like, I needed early on that person to recognize that I had the talent, or like in your case, you wanting to learn, being in those meetings. And so during your tenure, do you think, because just my dad has a construction company. My first job was working for a commercial developer, and I, like, look back and I didn't meet a single woman until, like, the 3rd year that I was there. It was like, there just weren't any,
yeah,
and it was fun, but it's, like, important that, you have males that recognize, "Oh, just because this person is a female and we don't see a lot of them, I see something in them, I wanna help them grow." Have you seen the dynamic in terms of the ratios kind of change from that first day you were sitting in the Orlando office? And, how have you seen it maybe evolve from 24 years ago to now? Are there more women in the industry, and how, just kind of talk a little bit about what you've
yeah.
seen?
Absolutely. So I think absolutely I've seen the ratios change because you're right. When I started 24 years ago, I would go into a room and there was not another female in the room. I was typically the only one who was there in those meetings. And so over time, I think it's happened slowly over time, but I think today there's absolutely a shift in the ratio in a variety of roles. I think obviously in what I do in the marketing communication side, it still tends to be primarily a female kind of focused role. But I think on the field side and on the operational side, I have definitely seen a shift on that side. Far more women who are out in field running projects in those leadership roles and having a voice both on the project leadership level and within our organization at a leadership level as well. So, I think it's something that will continue to evolve and change. And I'm excited to see what that looks like in the future. But it has definitely been a shift in a very positive direction since I started all those years ago.
That's great. It's great to hear.
Yeah.
One thing that's kind of stood out to me while you were talking is, it wasn't just a one off, you were invited to sit on one meeting or a 6-month internship program. It sounds like this person really mentored you or gave you opportunities or helped, maybe share their knowledge throughout your entire tenure there. So it sounds like it was a very long lasting relationship.
Yeah.
It wasn't a box to check, it was an investment in your future.
Yeah.
Result of that across many people is an incredible, which we had talked about previously, an incredibly low turnover rate. Because
Mhm.
if you value the people and you hire out the gate, the hard worker, the talent, it takes nurturing over time to keep that person there and valuing them in a variety of ways, right? So it's very impressive what they have put together in their culture.
Thank
That
you.
Robinson.
Yeah, I'm really, really proud of the culture that we have here at the company. We do have a very low turnover rate. Most of the folks that serve in, senior roles within our company, they're not hired in at those roles. They're people who have been promoted in those roles and have served, their entire careers within the company. And that part is really important to us. We really believe in promoting from within because one, that helps make sure that the culture remains strong. People understand, what's important to us and how we operate, how we treat our people, how we treat our clients. So the culture really is at the core of everything that we do. I think the two things that we focus on, and is I think a main focus in probably a lot of the decisions, the majority of the decisions we make is what we're doing. Is it right for our team members? Is it right for our people? Are we doing the right thing by the people within the company? And are we doing the right thing for our clients? And I think if we continue to do those two things and those remain at the core and the focus of the decisions we make, then we continue to move in a positive direction. And it has served us well. We're celebrating our 80th anniversary this year. So that process and that mindset has been there from the beginning and that has served us well. So the culture is really strong. And I think also the focus for us as a company on learning and development opportunities for our team members is such a priority. Again, going back to, are we doing what's right for our people? So are we creating those growth and learning opportunities for our people? Are we offering them training opportunities within the company? Do we promote them going out and looking for training opportunities outside of the company? So having the learning and development component is really critical. We've established some really strong mentorship programs within the company to, again, promote from within, taking our craft professionals. We had a professional program named after Rocky. So the Rocky Macon Field Leadership Program, because he came up as a craft professional. And so giving our craft professionals that maybe didn't have the avenue to go to college or take a more traditional, path of education. And so we have a program where in our seventh grade class students at this point that they do 18 months of learning and they do classroom learning and field learning. And then at the end of that program, they're typically promoted to a salaried role within our company. And we've seen such huge advancements of that program, team members that started there and went through the mentorship program and are superintendents for us. And so it's been a great avenue to create those learning and growth opportunities for team members that maybe didn't have another avenue to do that. And then I think the other component that allows us to have such a low turnover rate is we also look for opportunities for maybe different or new career paths for our team members that maybe were not there 5, 10 years ago. For example, not long ago, we established a new scheduling group. We, typically in the past, we had used external scheduling consultants to work with our field teams kind of as a back check for them as they were scheduling their projects and realizing the groups that we were using, one, we were getting so big, we couldn't rely solely on them. And so we created the opportunity for some of our team members to develop a new scheduling group in-house. And so that creates avenues for team members that maybe are passionate about the scheduling component to step away from their typical role in the field and become focused on how do we help our project teams, schedule their projects, serve as that resource. So I think that the opportunity that the team members have within our company to bring suggestions or ideas of maybe new career paths that aren't already formed or established is also very supported here. And so I think that just creates one more avenue for people to want to stay because they realize they have the chance to maybe create a new role for themselves that could help the company, help them grow, and also stay within the organization without having to look for something outside. So I think those are all things that have been really, really helpful for us, but the culture piece is at the core of it and making sure we're taking care of our people and our clients and giving them as many opportunities as possible. That's an amazing program. I have not heard like that's like you've created collegiate courses almost inside of your company. That's, I mean, and like you're saying, for people that maybe didn't have that opportunity before joining the workforce, like that's just an amazing thing to offer them. And just remind me, so when you started working, what's been the company growth? Like how many employees did you have 24 years ago and where are you now?
So when I started 24 years ago, I think we had company-wide maybe 200 employees, at that time. And that might have been salaried and hourly employees because we had our craft professionals. We were so small. And so now, 24 years later, we have 1,500 team members across the company. So roughly about 900 salaried and the balance is hourly. And this year we have established a sales goal of $3 billion. Just the growth has been just exponential and huge. To think about how we were, when I started, there were 3 marketing team members, I think, across the company, and we have a team, I think, of 28 now. So that part is just seeing that growth. But I think the thing that we're probably, again, so proud of is that even though we've grown so much and grown as an organization, grown in all the things that we offer, that culture piece and that kind of family feeling that we have is still very much the core of who we are. We still feel like a small company, but we run like a much larger company, but the culture is still there at the very base of everything we do. So
Yep, $3 billion tells you that, people are actually it's funny because I think, there's still I still think there's a sentiment out there like, "Oh, yeah," like, people will say, "Oh, people are so important," but they don't do the things that you all have done, and it
yeah,
goes to show when you actually invest and you truly say culture and people are first, everything else will follow, and it's just such a great example. Thanks for sharing all that.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and it's supported by, the reasons you were giving prior to of, hey, these are the pieces that are a part of our low turnover. And then we mentioned the numbers and the scalability and the growth. It's not surprising given the innovative thought process of putting the value back in your people, and it scaled you. That is a key part of your tenure, but of course, the scalability of the company and then the overall success.
Yeah,
And that the time to make that investment in your people, it does take time. It takes energy and effort. And to also be innovative enough to think outside of the box so that you are adapting to the next generation, which kind of leads me to my next question, which we had talked about briefly before, is you're very protective of your culture. You have this family feel and you've grown it, but been able to maintain that. And cultures, I think, constantly are evolving and shifting to maintain the things we love, right? And then accept new things in that come along with new technologies, AI, that come along with new types of education or opportunities for those that maybe haven't had opportunity for education in the same way or have a different skill set. And so one thing we had talked about was that 60% of Gen Z employees look to leave the company they're at within 2 years of gaining employment there. To have essentially that next growth opportunity waiting in the wings.
yeah,
And what's interesting is you really shared about how you have created growth and development within your own company and kept that familial feel. So why would you not want to stay? And it doesn't mean they're going to get an immediate promotion. It doesn't mean that work and effort isn't there, but that you've created other opportunities for growth to
right.
evolve that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, I know so many, like you said, the younger generation, they think it's that idea of instant gratification. I think that is so much of what they see now, obviously through social media and through, all of the online shopping, all the things that are just instantly available to us. So the idea of having to wait or put in the time before you are promoted to the next role is maybe not as appealing, as it once was, or the norm the way that it once was. And so again, I think about the next generation and the things that I think are important for them to keep in mind before they make that jump to whatever the next job is or the next best thing is, really sitting down and thinking, like, have you maybe taken advantage of every opportunity given to you, or said yes to trying a new role or trying a new location? I know for us especially, a lot of our younger team members have to move from project to project and location to location. And sometimes that can be a pain point, but we also try to, share that as a great learning experience because you get to be somewhere different. You get to learn something different. You get to work with a different team, a different client. So taking advantage of every opportunity. And if at any point you sit down and you're asking yourself, did I take advantage of every opportunity? And you say no, then you may want to pause, or you make that shift, or you jump somewhere else. Maybe go back and revisit a conversation or revisit an opportunity that had been proposed to you, because you never know, it could spark the next growth path for you, the next opportunity for you. And then again, similar to what we've been able to do with our team members, is there a need that maybe you see within your organization that's not being addressed? Is there a need or a new role or a new path or something that isn't there but could be a benefit? And it
That's a big
is.
piece is the leadership being able to have eyes open enough and taking the time to ask,
Yeah.
well, hey, do you see a gap that you can help us fix?
Yeah.
Because that simple question, because their eyes are seeing things differently than,
Exactly.
there's a lot of nuanced capability to close gaps, to be more efficient in taking their eyes, to see in a new, fresh way what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think as your role changes in an organization, your engagement or involvement in some of the day-to-day functions of what our team members are maybe experiencing on a project or within a department. I know the things that I see or that I do now is very different than what I did 5, 10, 20 years ago. So when I hear input or feedback from somebody on my team of, what, like this could really make this more efficient, or what, like this is a pain point that we're experiencing now. I think I have a way that we can address it or fix it. It is really up to executives and our leadership to listen and take that input or take those suggestions and ideas and give those younger team members the chance to kind of run with it. Obviously in a way that is safe and is not going to, do harm, but it's just giving them the opportunity to run with those ideas and suggestions, because again, you never know what it can do for your organization and what it can do for that team member, that they feel like they're being listened to and heard.
Sarah, this sounds really familiar. Sorry, I just can't help it. But it's just interesting, Katie, because Sarah was not doing this job that she is running customer advocacy for us. The job didn't exist. And I'm just cracking up as I'm listening to her talk, because I'm like, wait, you actually did this. She brought it to our attention that there's this whole area that we're not able to invest enough in. And we literally created this role for her, and we wouldn't have this podcast without her jumping in and facilitating all of this. So I completely agree. And Sarah, you have actually lived that out yourself here at Unanet. And I do think it's, having that open door and listening can create really great things. So I just had to call that out because it was too perfect not to. So yeah.
Well, and it takes both outlooks, right? Because if you didn't take the time to listen, or,
Yes.
blew me off, or weren't open to something new, that whole attitude of just being open to what we don't know or see, or that's evolving, especially with AI and all the technology enhancements. It really does take kind of eyes on both sides to go, I see you. Let's see how we can make this better all in,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I love the 2 years. To me, it is funny that you're talking about instant gratification, Katie, because I mean, it very much feels like we're just getting more and more. You look at LinkedIn and these stories of some of the early people early in their careers who just assume, yeah, like, oh, it's been a year and now I get a promotion. Like,
Right.
that's not how this normally works. So again, that's another podcast topic we could branch off to, but I know they like us to stay around 30 minutes. So let's maybe bring it home with if you could just give one piece of advice to all of our listeners, just based on your experience, what you've seen, just any final thought that you would want to share.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway or my biggest thought to share is really take advantage of every single opportunity that comes your way. Say yes. Say yes to those things that are outside of the norm. Say yes to the things that maybe make you feel a little bit uncomfortable and not sure if you can do it, because you can. And you never know what saying yes to an opportunity will lead to. So that's my last piece of advice. Just say yes to those opportunities, and it could create something really amazing for you in your career journey.
Well said. I could not agree more. Very well said.
Well said.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of both of us and all of our listeners, I just want to say I really appreciate you being just so open with us. And it has been an honor to hear your story, Katie. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this and really excited about what you guys are doing with the podcast. So thank you.
Awesome. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for listening to Breaking Ground Women in AEC Leadership. If today's episode resonates with you, please be sure to follow, leave a review, or share it with someone in your network. And if you have a story to share, please send us an email. Our contact information is in the podcast bio, and we are always looking for our next guests. So until next time, keep breaking new ground.